Hello and welcome to Connections Forum. I'm Margherita Crystal Lotus, and in this episode we are going to talk about the healing power of nature with Nicole Levac. First, I want to talk about what we do here on Connections Forum. Connections Forum offers single episodes and short series of talks, interviews regarding the most important areas in human life, such as relationship issues, personal expression and self-development, and as well healing of these areas. The purpose of our show is to give you inspiration and also teach you new skill with which to handle issues which are connected with the topic for today, which is the healing power of nature. So, also, you can watch our replays on Hangout on Connection.com. We are putting every episode on this website, so go there if you want to see a past episode. So, I'm Margherita Crystal Lotus. I'm an intuitive life and business mentor who helps professional women overcome emotional overwhelm and stress so that they can restore their energy and come back to fulfilling relationships and flourishing careers. I'm the creator of the online program Your Healing Journey, and my website is thecrystallotus.com. And now over to you, Heidi.
Yeah, hello, I'm Heidi Hornlein, or German name Adelheid Hörnlein, but I'm known as Heidi with my friends. So I am who I am. I'm a lot. Lately I'm a Hangout host, as you see here, with Margherita, but we have also the Wisdom Factory, a Hangout show, which will restart the new episodes in May 6th. But then I'm a retreat host here in Italy. We lately had Mia Voss here, and she was our guest, and we did a show from here. And we are doing, together with Mark, we are doing retreats about relationships, about growing up and waking up, and you are welcome to be here. And I'm professionally a voice coach, an opera singer, at least I was, and a relationship coach and an empowerment coach. And that's what we want to do here, to empower people to follow our footsteps, let's say, as we heard before in the green room saying, Nicole. Yeah, what else can I say? I think nothing. I jump over to say hello to Nicole. Hello.
Hi. So lovely to be here. I'm just so honored to. Yeah. And I'll allow myself to say it on live that both of you have been huge inspirations for me. So yes, you do. Your amazing connections with yourselves and with your audience has definitely been an inspiration. So.
Wonderful. So I will introduce you for a moment. Let me see. Oh, my text has disappeared. Do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure, that's fine. I'm Nicole Levac. I loved how Heidi introduced herself. I'm a lot. I love that. I'm a nature lover first and foremost, and I'm a transformation guide, a personal transformation guide, and I'm a mother. I'm a spouse, and I'm also a coach and mentor. So, and I love to help people find their soul through connecting with nature. So I call it soul, but it's to connect with themselves through nature. So it's a healing journey, it's a discovery journey, it's a live journey, and it's definitely a contributing journey. So that's.
Yeah, this is wonderful, and the nature is something which is inspiring me too. I live here in nature all around me for about 26, 27 years, and I've lived with animals, and it was really very, very inspiring and healing also for me. And I would like to ask you, Nick, nature was the big healer, let's say. would you like to talk a little bit what nature means for you and how you use it?
Oh my God, nature has been part of my life since I've been a baby. So it's always been, and I forgot, I'm writing right now, so there's a lot of my journey that's in my writing. It's always been a place where I could be in a space of honesty, in a place of trust, in a place of being real and being present. There's so much. It's raw, it's real, and it's always been that throughout my life, and it's been a huge teacher for me and mentor, and I can honestly say that I hid that part of me. I didn't share my love of nature until very recently, because I thought it was private to me, and it was kind of like my little golden jewel that I kept very private to me, because I never knew I never knew how to share it, and it kind of made little, I'd say, guest appearances in my life when I was sharing with others. But when I started sharing more and more my journey with nature, that's when I started showing up and being myself, and really being able to contribute because I've been trying to figure out for the longest time what the heck I was bringing to the table and what my magic was, and until I realized that my love of nature is definitely what makes me me.
This is wonderful. As you can see on the event page, I posted a little film which I took yesterday. Nature is just so, whenever I come to this river, it feels like expansion, like calmness and expansion at the same time. It's just inspiring me a lot. So how do you say you are a guide, transformational guide, and I imagine you are using nature to help you with the transformation. How do you do that? I mean, how do you transmit your own excitement? No, I don't know if we can call it excitement, but this relationship you have with nature to other people.
It's a journey. To me, I try to guide people to connect with themselves through nature. So it's a journey that I bring people on, and they'll go as it's first of all, there's got to be some healing that takes place, and the healing often takes place through the elements, because there's different people connect differently with the elements, and there's I call it like the spectrum of the elements. Because what nature represents to me in the earth element is very different than what it represents for you in the earth element. So it's to help people connect with which part of the element talks to you, and to walk them through that. And through the healing, you'll hit on different emotions that people will come up with. Because as you're progressing in your journey in nature, you're definitely, I always say, you're penetrating into that forest, and going deeper and deeper and deeper into the wild, into that part of yourself that is often, you know how you walk, that beautiful video that you put on, Heidi, you probably know the path. You probably know the path, and you can probably walk it very blindly and just take that path. But all of a sudden, when you start paying attention, you start noticing little things, and little things start popping up. And you get to know, rather than knowing the path, you get to know a little bit more, and a little bit more, and a little bit more. And then it becomes this vast place within yourself that looks like that you would identify with, and you learn to recognize, accept it, and so it's a journey. it's a journey. When you're using nature, I find that a lot of people connect with nature very easily, but they don't know how to use that connection to nature to help them connect with themselves. So that's kind of where I bring it all together.
We both are fortunate because we have nature around, and almost wild nature, or you have really wild nature, or at least you had where you were before in the middle of nowhere. So you could surely have these experiences. People who live in the middle of the crowded city, what can they do?
The elements are all there. That's what people forget, is like they think of nature as something that's wild, and the elements are always around us. They're in your office, for heaven's sakes. When you go and wash your hands, there's water there. There's the air is always there. It's always present. You can and like, I'm sure, like, unless you live in a city where there's absolutely no way you can get out, there's always there's always the element of the sun, the fire is always present. The element of earth is underneath your feet, and it doesn't matter. The element is always there, even if it's covered up. I'm still the same person, and I'm covered up. I'm not standing here naked in front of you, and that's what people forget. They think that the element has to be pure. It's always pure. It's just covered up so that we can integrate it into our lives. But nature is always present, and although it is covered up, it's not gone. It's there, and that's where people. Because I have many clients that live in the city, and that live in areas where they don't have access to nature, but that's where I come in, is I can connect with nature so that I can show you how to connect with it in your reality, in your world, and because it's there, and people forget that it's always present. Doesn't matter where you are.
So we have a comment from Rain Dowell. Thank you for being here, Rain.
Hi, Rain.
And she says, using nature to connect with ourselves. I'd love to hear more about this process, Nicole, she says.
It's definitely, I was alluding to it, it's definitely a journey. And when you're connecting to yourself, mostly, a lot of people, well, I'll speak for myself. I won't go into a lot of people. For me, my connection to myself through nature, I was for the longest time trying to connect like perfectly, and I didn't realize that what I was doing is I was connecting deeper to myself. And that's what connecting to nature is. There's levels of our connections. There's rhythm to our connections. There's so much depth to the connection with ourselves through nature that it's to say, like, I can't, like, unless I walk you through it. There's the healing part that has to take place first and foremost, and we have to recognize where we are blocked. And how do you do that? Well, you walk. For me, it's just walk. Recognize how you feel in your body. Just feel where you're blocked. Feel. That's nature. That's how nature connects to itself. It grows into itself. It doesn't grow out of itself. It grows into itself, and it expands. And that's where connecting to ourselves through nature is growing into ourselves and just revealing the form out there. So I don't know if that's going to help, Rain. Rain, let me know if that answered your question.
I wanted to jump in here a little bit and tell you and the listeners how I do connect to nature. One is what we all do, I think, to see the beauty. And the beauty is there. It doesn't need to be perfect. The more you look into it, as you said before, Nicole, when I walk now down to the river, now I see different flowers than the other time. You know, in winter there were no flowers at all, and then the first ones came and the other ones come and so on. This is a way, we would say, listening. No, we are all three together with Marilyn Shannon in the Skywire, where we talk about listening. That is a way of listening with the eyes. And then it's listening with the ears. Listening when you walk and you hear the dry leaves or little wood pieces crack under your feet, you know, or what I like to listen to water, you know, to the river and the little brook which comes in and right in this place which is here in the little video. And this gives me the impression or the feeling that I'm together with these forces, you know, I'm together with nature, let's say, and whatever I give attention to comes to me and connects with me. So this is my way of connecting with nature. I don't know. Would you like to add something, Margherita?
Well, when you're using your senses, oftentimes we use our senses to limit ourselves. I often walk closed with my eyes closed. Just because I want to develop my other senses. I want to feel the forest. I want the feeling that I get. You know what I mean? And they're like our senses, our eyes. I always say our eyes are probably our senses that can tromper. It can make us bring us into different things of ourselves that are not real necessarily to us, and we believe them and we don't question it. So many times I walk with my eyes closed to trust to learn to trust myself, to learn to connect with myself, to learn to use my other senses, because our connection to nature doesn't need to see. It just breathes, and it's present, and it's there, and that's why it's so beautiful. I love that you use your senses. I think it's very important, Heidi, to use your senses in nature.
Mm-hmm. Before I ask Margherita, I just want to bring up the comment from Dorn. People lost connection with nature. We should become one with nature again, just as we did before. Fossil oil came, it's so difficult to read, came along. We make part nature. We are not on top of nature as species. We need to understand that nature resources are finite and connect again in the humble way. I think personally you are right and not right at the same moment, because I think nature is not finite. Nature is infinite in regeneration as long as it can. You know, if we kill it completely,
yeah.
It is astonishing when you see concrete ruins, you know, which they seemed forever, and after 10-15 years nature is gone over it. So yeah, finite is all, that's for sure, and all the other things, and it's really time that we find other resources, and they are there, they are already there. It's only a decision which needs to be made to not use oil anymore, or only for certain things, and not for burning with our cars and so on. But this needs to be done.
There's a lot more than oil. I think we're definitely. It's for me. Nature is definitely like, if you look around, I don't want to go into the environmental part of it, because that's a whole other thing. But it's definitely what we're doing to Mother Nature. We're definitely doing it to ourselves. So that's why the healing journey has to take place, because we are damaging ourselves at the same time that we're hurting Mother Nature. And Mother Nature has been around for millenniums, for eons, forever, and she'll be there well past when we're gone. And
absolutely.
She's learned to live and to adapt and transform and whatever. And I think you're right, Heidi, about, I think unless we destroy her completely, the seeds hold everything. And there's a lot of seeds, there's a lot of stuff, there's a lot of, and she can, Mother Nature I always say in her little mood swings, one earthquake will, destroy a lot of things. And for her, it's just a little shiver, you know what I mean? So it's definitely, there's definitely a lot that nature can do to us that people have forgotten about. And people think that they can control, and that's when I think that's in that journey of coming to face with our ego, because Mother Nature doesn't have an ego. She has an identity, but she doesn't have an ego, and that's where I think that we can learn so much from her.
And and I would even go so far to say, when we heal the healing journey, we may help Mother Nature to heal quicker, but she doesn't really need us.
My God, no! You're so right. She doesn't need us. We need her a lot more than she needs us.
Absolutely, we need her, because without her we are dead. She without us, fine.
She'll do quite well, actually. She'll probably be better.
Absolutely.
And that's why for me it's become so important to share my love of nature and to share how we can connect to ourselves to be able to give back. Because we've taken so much, and like I tell people, don't take a walk, go for a walk. When you're taking, you're still, it's still that you know what I mean, that child that needs to take, and that child, it's fine there, but I think that in our lives presently, I think we're in a space where we need to start recognizing that we have to be present in who we are, and in recognizing that it is a giving and receiving relationship that takes place with nature, and that's where we need to allow ourselves to give to Mother Nature and receive from Mother Nature and not take from her.
Well, this was very interesting exploration. We got into this with nature. That's very amazing. But I had a question here for a while, and that is, Nicole, how did you get started? What propelled you to actually work on yourself and start your own healing journey to what you're doing today?
Oh wow, that's such a, thank you for giving me that opportunity, because it's been a journey, and it's a combination of things. I think I've always been throughout my life looking, and I started what did the little thing is the spouse that I was with at the time, his son was killed in a car accident, and within that instant, my daughters were not quite 2 years old by then, and everything just kind of it lit a light bulb in me, and it made me realize that life wasn't forever, it wasn't infinite, it was finite, and it was something that kind of brought me to my senses, basically, and I started looking at with the example that I was giving to my daughters of, like I said, there was a lot of healing that needed to take place, and I was a carcass of who I am. I had all these roles in my life. I knew who I was as a mother. I knew who I was as a spouse. I knew who I was as all these roles in my life, but I had no idea who the core of me was. So I set out on a journey, and I studied for 4 years in energy, and then I went into business, because my background is in business, but I went back to the business part of my journey. After the 4 years of energy work, so that's kind of what brought me to on my healing journey.
That's amazing. It's very similar to my situation too.
Really?
Yeah.
And throughout all that, what brought me, what was present in all my life was nature. Like I said, it's always been, and all the healing took place with my time one-on-one with me, with nature. And believe me, nature has many of my secrets that have been dealt with and cleansed and released and accepted and transformed and whatever. Like I said, nature has always been and still is my best teacher and mentor.
Yeah. Well, as Rain says here, having a good understanding of how Mother Nature works and being respectful of the gifts and beauty she provides with us every day, and live a life in respectful way towards her. Okay, we have nature will always prosper. Time has no meaning for nature. We don't have that option. We have to learn to live within nature's law again. This is so important, I think, for me anyway. So thank you for that, Rain.
And time, she mentions time in there, and it's like, and that's something that I learned, is time in nature is completely different than what we define as time. And Mother Nature makes time her ally. It's a partner. Because over the eons that she's been around, look, I was listening to a little while ago, there was a video on with wolves coming back. I think it's in the Yellowstone Park or something. It was completely gone. The whole nature and the water was drying up, and there was a whole ecosystem that was gone. Because the nature, there was the wolves were taken out, and they put the wolves back in, and all of a sudden Mother Nature started growing and whatever. And that's what I mean. Nature has learned to make time her ally. And we get so impatient. We want results yesterday. It's like everything, boom, boom, boom. It's got to happen. It's got to hurry. And it's like, that doesn't happen like that. In nature, it's all about allowing, and it's all about letting things be in themselves and open up to who they are and reveal.
Yeah. And what I wanted to insert here, that we are often so short-sighted, you know. We think the wolves are the problem, we put them out, and then the whole ecosystem goes away. And I saw a documentary about Mao Zedong, who had invented that the birds had eaten too much of the grain, and so he had the whole country for 2 days make noises, and all the birds fell down. They couldn't survive. And you saw this film where people with whole tons of little birds, happy that they have this caught all these birds, and they had to do it because it was an order, you know. Yeah. And what happened that in the following years, the insects had to, you know, overwhelm, and there was no birds anymore to take care of the insects. And they had finally to import birds from somewhere else to get at least a little bit repaired what they have done. You know, so stupid ideas without any longer, how do you say, further perspectives on what our actions do. And when we now cut away all these forests, for instance, you know, just because we want more paper, all these advertisements which come in all the time on paper, we don't really need that. And the woods, until they grow, it takes such a long time, you know.
Yes.
We think about it, but it's money is so important. They want to earn money, and it's so short-sighted, everything.
Yeah. And it's the same when you use, for me, when I'm using nature like that, that's what I use as examples, is like there's parts of ourselves that we've tried to kill off, or that we've learned to kill off. We have had birds that bothered us, which was shame, or which was, you know, like whatever we have to deal with. We've had different issues that showed up in our lives. That created this inconvenience and usually for others around us, and we've learned to kill them off, or we've learned to get rid of them and whatever, and all of a sudden we're having the insects show up, so we're having these side effects, which is that's what the healing, that's when the healing takes place. It's like, wow, okay, I've cut out entire pieces of myself. Like I was saying, I've cut out I wasn't sharing my love of nature because I didn't think, first of all, I didn't think it was very important, because I was shown that it was important for me privately, but it had no importance to anybody else, and it was something that was not useful, and that's what I learned until I realized, oh wow, okay, no, that's who I am. I can't hide an entire part of who I am and not show up as myself. So that's what happens with nature, is when you start recognizing that what we're doing to nature, we're doing to ourselves, it's happening to us, and what the effects that we're left with are devastating, the same way that they're devastating in Mother Nature, and we do suffer the consequences of that devastation. And that's where when you start healing yourself, you start going into the next phase, which is unlocking those parts of yourself that you have left behind, and you start bringing them back into your life. So.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to come back to this, what you said before. Healing yourself was to become able to sense and to feel. And I think this is a big, big, big thing which we need to reintegrate in our lives. We have learned in the past some 1,000 years not to feel a whole lot. And the church has helped quite a bit. But it was not only them. It was just a tendency to push back everything and to pretend to be somebody who doesn't need to feel, men especially, but also women. We have it too. So would you say the re-education would be a journey in learning to sense and to feel?
Oh, definitely, because a lot of people we've disconnected. And in our capacity to understand things, we need to compartmentalize, to put them in little boxes. So we have the body, the mind, the soul. There are three different things, but they're a whole. They're a whole. And I had definitely stopped feeling my body. Like, I mean, literally at I don't know, 30 years old, I guess, or something like that, my body was so damaged. I couldn't even lift a glass of water because I was aching. I worked hard all my life. I worked on farms. I worked in the woods. I worked physically. I worked in the office during the week, but I worked basically 7 days a week. And I damaged my body. And at 30 years old, I couldn't even work anymore because I looked like an old lady, like literally, and I looked damaged. Until I started listening to my body and recognized that I couldn't even feel. I still remember walking into a chiropractor's office, and he's like, "Oh my God! Like you don't even recognize your own pain," and that's what we've disconnected. We've glorified the fact that wow, you're such a hard worker, and it's like you keep going throughout the pain, and it's like it's not there's no glorification out of it. Feel your body. It's a part of you. It's trying to talk to you. It's trying to tell you that you have limits, that you have a space. Because when you look at nature, it lives in its own limits. A tree doesn't become a bird. It stays a tree. It just grows into itself, and it stays itself, but it grows into that. It doesn't try to become the stream. It doesn't try to become the wind. It dances with it, but it doesn't become it. And that's where when we don't feel our body within our limits, and our body, our mind, and our soul. We've when our bodies hurt, It hurts our mind. It hurts our soul. It hurts our connection to ourselves. It hurts how we feel about everything. You can't freeze one part without having another part affected. And that's what nature teaches us. It's everything's interdependent. And it's the same thing within us. And and like if you come back to what Margherita was asking me about my journey into the healing part of it, my pain, I was showing my pain to my daughters. It was interconnected. I was bringing my pain to my relationship with my daughters, to my relationships, not just with my daughters, but because my daughters were definitely the closest to me. They were part of my pain until I started healing myself, and then it healed the portion of my relationship with my daughters, and then they have their own stuff to deal with. They have their own healing to go through. Everybody's got their own thing to deal with. But I didn't want to have my pain be theirs. And when I can recognize that my pain is mine, I can take it back, take ownership of it, heal it, and leave the other person's part in their healing journey with their pain to deal with theirs. And I can walk them through it. So that's...
Yeah, and with pain you obviously mean not only physical pain, like a distorted body, but you mean also the psychological pain or the spiritual pain of feeling not realized, of feeling maybe depressed or something like that.
Yes, and it's all, like I said, it's all interconnected. The body, the mind, the soul, and the spirit, and like it's all interconnected because our energy fields, and Margherita can attest to that, I'm sure, our energy fields are all interconnected. So
don't say that to scientists, materialists. They don't believe it. Everything is material. All the other things don't exist because you cannot measure them.
Yeah, well, that's for another discussion. It's starting. The scientists, some of them, the ones that are a little bit more curious, they're starting to go in there and start realizing. It's funny, but because you can't tell me that what I'm feeling is not true. They might not be true for you because you're not feeling them, but they're true for me. And if I don't recognize my own feelings and my feelings of pain, whether they be physical, emotional, spiritual, you know what I mean? They're not true for you. And you're absolutely right because you're not going through them. I am, and that's what I loved about my journey with nature. Is it was about discovering who I am and helping others discover who they are in their truth. And there's thousands. I'm just looking outside right now and I can see thousands of trees right outside my window, and they're all trees. They're all, you know what I mean? But each one is individual to who it is, and that's who we are. We're all humans, but we're all individuals. And there's humans, there's birds, there's geese, there's the four-legged animals, there's the, you know what I mean? There's the winged animals, there's the swimming animals, there's the life in the forest, in the nature that grows. There's all kinds of definitions of who we are, and it's just identifying with who we are in that sense.
Well, you're talking to a converted scientist because I studied math and chemistry in the university. So when I woke up to the healing journey was because I have too much pain and I had to deal with it. And then, of course, addressing it as a scientist, some of these issues needed to be solved. So then, you know, you have to combine all the neurons in the brain and understand that there is more to it than that. And I mean, the real scientists, like you're talking about quantum mechanics or something like that, they're striving to meet that part of healing on nature and intuition. And I think we're almost there. There is cutting edge scientists who actually are open to actually acknowledge that there is a wholeness.
Yes.
They are pioneers, real pioneers, and they get so much trashed by their colleagues, you know.
Yeah, yeah, but it's always like that. The leader, the first one in the front always gets, like, even, like, look at nature. The tallest tree is the one that gets the worst storms. Because it's the first one out there, but all of a sudden it opens a path to different people, to different. Yeah. And they get looked at as if they're four-headed and very strange. I can.
You say four. That reminds me. Also pioneers. My big mentor Ken Wilber. He says, for instance, the pioneers you see, you recognize they have the arrows in the back.
That's why I have so much pain in my back.
Yeah. I was gonna say that's probably the leaders probably have a lot of back pains, and it's true.
So,
it's like,
what we are doing here practically is what we are studying in integral theory. We are combining all the four quadrants, we say, of reality, the outside reality and the inside reality, because normal science is seeing only the outside. You know, what can be seen from outside, and they ignore and even negate that there is some inside. Normal spiritual people see only the inside. They don't see the outside. So what we are doing is trying to combine these realms, the inside, the individual, and also the collective. I mean, we know what it's a difference between me and the we, for instance,
yes.
You know, and all these things coming together. This is the big, let's say, finding of Ken Wilber. By the way, tonight he has a live event. It's free, and I should write it in the event page. You can exit it with a bit.ly link, bit.ly/superpotential. Superpotential.
Y, not epsilon.
Y. Epsilon is Y. Okay. bit.ly/superpotential. You know, sometimes it's like you say, Nicole, we are not English native speakers, and sometimes we talk shit.
Mention a comment from Rain here, and she says, I love how you explain how every living thing is so unique and special, an organic part of the whole, and how each living thing has its own physical and spiritual and emotional parts to it. And she had a previous comment also about that. She said that nature is merely mirroring how we as a species feel right now.
So
that's kind of powerful. And I have to ask us now, because we're coming to the end of the episode, so what is your takeaway from this episode?
Wow. I think it's the collaboration. I think it's the open space and I loved that you. I think you described it, Margherita, when you said we're holding you towards that conversation, and I think that's what I enjoyed the most. I felt that space to share my love of nature and to join in on this flow that is definitely. I always do the infinite loops, the 8 laying down, and I think that's what I got is the flow that was created in this conversation. So definitely a connection forum for sure.
Thank you so much for being here, and maybe we'll have you back at some time. What is your final word, Heidi?
My final word is that I get again the confirmation how powerful this platform is, how we can connect, how we can talk about topics which normally maybe run through our mind, but we have no partners to talk about. Even, you know, with the audience, we have nobody to really connect. This is so lovely to have these comments here. The people are included in what we are doing, and we then meet them in other hangouts. This is just amazing, and we are in some way pioneers for a bigger connection.
Wow.
We're all part of the same nature, the same forest. And it's,
so this is at the end of this episode, and as we said before, if you want to see the replay, you can do it on this page here or on hangoutonconnection.com, where we have all our replays posted. And Heidi, you have a comment?
Yeah, your takeaway. What is that?
Okay, my takeaway is that as a healer, I've worked with healing for 18 or 20 years now. It's so amazing to actually reconnect with kindred spirits, and Nicole is one of them. And this makes my goosebumps on my arms because, you know, there is more and more people who are connected with the healing of ourselves in an intuitive way, in the way that they can, because they have gone through, like myself, a healing journey of incredible pain and abuse and all kinds of things. And then this is why I'm here, to actually be providing and supporting other people in Connections Forum, for example. So this is a very particular special joy for me today to connect with you, Nicole, and to actually see a fellow practitioner.
thank you. You gave me goosebumps.
Yeah. And we have a comment from John Cleese, and he says, this was really an inspiring event. Love the insights from Nicole in order to connect with nature. For me, this is interesting to exercise, to look at things differently. Thank you so much, John Cleese. This is very amazing. And with that, if Heidi doesn't have any more to say,
I would have a lot to say, but I don't.
I knew it. So we will see you next week on Connections Forum, and happy weekend, happy spending time in nature. Wonderful.
Thank you.